Today I'm going to be making the New York Times creamy spicy tomato greens and beans recipe. I'm excited about this recipe because it says it's for those who delight in turning a modest can of beans into a spectacular dinner. And that's me to a T. I actually need a T-shirt that says that. Delights in turning a modest can of beans into a spectacular dinner. And then maybe like an arrow pointing up. I really love beans. I've never made this before, but it seems like it's going to come together relatively quickly. The worst part is going to be that I have to mince an onion, which I don't know why I bothered to put on makeup. It's always a bloodbath. As always, I will let you know how it goes, and we might make some minor adjustments along the way.
First things first, let's get this onion chopping business over and done with. And now I've got the hiccups, which is great. There is a right way to do this in order to allegedly minimize tears. I made a video about that, but I did not follow that method here. The method I'm using here is probably best described as chaos and total destruction. I'm really just trying to get this over with and create little pieces that are at least relatively uniform in size.
That was definitely not the right way to do it, but it also didn't go that badly. Look at my eyes, no tears. I chewed some gum. I think that helped. Let's proceed.
Now it's time to fry up the panko breadcrumbs that are going to go on top of the arugula in the finished dish. So I'm adding 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil to the skillet over medium heat and 2/3 cup of panko. Seasoning with a little pepper and a little salt, and then mixing that all together to get my crumbs nice and oily. Let these crisp up for a few minutes, stirring occasionally so they don't burn, until they're golden brown. Then transfer to a paper towel lined plate and set aside. Give your skillet a quick wipe down with a paper towel and we'll continue to use this same pan.
Panko has been toasted, we're off to a rip-roaring good start, and now it's time to cook the onion and the garlic, the beginnings of the sauce for the beans.
Eyeball another tablespoon or 2 of olive oil into the skillet over medium heat, and then dump the chopped onion in there. Give it a stir to coat in the oil, and then add 4 cloves of minced garlic. I'm going to mince these in my garlic press, and I did a little bit get garlic everywhere. Next, red pepper flakes. The recipe calls for 1/2 teaspoon, but that's just not the type of girl I am, so I'm just shaking it in there until I feel satisfied. Then pepper, salt, and stir semi-regularly while it cooks until the onions are all soft and sweaty. Now it's time to add tomato paste. We need 1/3 cup of this, and I have the kind that comes in a tube, which is great for saving some for later, but I'm fighting for my life here, squeezing it out. Into the skillet it goes. Stir until it's all well combined, and the whole mixture becomes a darker, deeper shade of red. This will take a couple of minutes. Okay, and the star of the show is here, the cannellini beans. We need 2 15-ounce cans, drained, rinsed, and dumped into the skillet. Quick stir, and then here's the point where I deviate from the recipe a bit. The recipe calls for 1 cup of heavy cream, but I'm using almond milk instead. I just felt like I didn't need to add that extra fat and richness to this, and I did read in the comments on the recipe that other people said you don't really need it to. Next, I'm adding chopped, jarred, sun-dried tomatoes in oil, 1/2 cup of these, and now everything is really starting to smell extra amazing. The flavors, they've got depth. It's all happening and the anticipation is building. But we also need to add 1/3 cup of water, and you know I was not about to get a new measuring cup dirty. I reused the one that just had tomato paste in it. Now we let this simmer and stir occasionally for at least 5 minutes. And in the meantime, I need to prep the arugula that will go on top, which really snuck up on me, timing-wise.
I would definitely recommend having all of your ingredients ready to go because once we got rolling here, everything was coming at me real fast. It's been a little chaotic. In case you're wondering, I do have onions all over my kitchen. Oops.
The recipe says to finely grate 2/3 cup of parmesan. I'm not sure how much this is, but it feels like more than that, which I like. We also need 2 teaspoons of finely grated lemon zest, so I'm about to go to town on this lemon. And again, is the quantity that I ended up with 2 teaspoons? I don't know, open to interpretation, but it looks like an appropriate amount of zest to me. The recipe calls for 4 packed cups of baby arugula, and I ultimately just decided to use this entire package because I didn't want to put a pitiful amount of arugula back in the fridge. Now the recipe calls for 4 teaspoons of juice from 1 lemon, so I took that to mean that I should just eviscerate this lemon and squeeze as much juice as I possibly can out of him directly over the arugula. What am I supposed to do? Squeeze the lemon juice into a separate container and then measure out exactly 4 teaspoons? No, thank you. I've got a life to live. Now we just need to put it all together, add the lemon zest first. And then some of the cheese. We'll add what we don't use now to the beans in a few minutes. And at this point, I realized I had reached the limits of the bowl I was using. I gave everything a little preemptive toss with my hands, kind of for no reason. Then added salt, pepper, and a little more cheese because that felt right in the moment. Then olive oil. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, but this is probably more like 1. And finally, the panko from earlier. We were so young then. Flop that off the paper towel and into the bowl as well. I finished this off by giving everything a proper toss with tongs. Beautiful, looks delicious. And now it's time to revisit our beans. I did end up just turning off the heat while I made the salad so they didn't overcook. It all felt a little frantic, to be honest, but I'm going to warm them up again now and add the rest of the Parmesan cheese. Stir that in, let it get all melty. And now the answer to your question is yes, I am sexually attracted to these beans. They are undeniably attractive. But we still need to finish with the arugula. So I poured that on top and tried my best to match the recipe photo. And actually, I think I did pretty well. I know. We did it, everybody.
It got nuts for a minute there. I did black out during the process, but we made it. Okay. I'm into this. I like this. The arugula makes it feel healthy. It really brightens up the heaviness of the cheesy beans. I'm glad I didn't use heavy cream, honestly. I don't think you need it. You could use it if you want this to be a little bit more rich, a little more decadent, perhaps. But I think milk was fine. Choose your own adventure, you know? If I made it again, I think the only thing I would change, I would maybe add a little bit more seasoning to the beans while they're cooking. And I feel like the sun-dried tomato that I put in there is doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of flavor. I mean, I am getting a little bit of the red pepper, but if you know me, you know I'm a spicy girl. I could go hotter. I could add a little chili powder next time, maybe a little garlic powder, just to ramp up the garlic a little bit more. I don't know. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, you know? Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please leave me a comment and let me know. I love reading the comments. They really make me so happy. And I will see you again very soon. It's not a great one to eat gracefully. I'll tell you that. You've been warned. If you're aiming to look hot and also eat this, it might not happen for you. I don't know.